Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. So, it's been a long night, right? Everyone's tired of the rain, cold outside. Want to get home to your families, maybe your partner, your husband, wife, and children. How many of you here have children? Raise your hand real quick. Okay, for the rest of you, how many of you here have ever been a child? Just 2 of you. Okay, good. So the rest of you have no idea what I'm talking about. So I've got a story to start with. Let's see if this works. Here we go. When you were a child, did you ever do something that your guardian parent, sister, brother, ever told you not to do? Of course. When I was a child, my grandmother told me, when she would cook on the stove, never touch the stove. Now, first of all, she didn't know me very well in the beginning. Because by telling me not to do it, it was like telling me, go put your hand on the stove. So now I'm curious. I'm like, what's it going to be like? There's some amazing revelation that's going to come to me. If I touch this stove, my grandmother's imparting this wisdom on me because she knows. So, I went ahead and I touched the stove. And that was the last time I ever touched the stove. The point of this is, I read this quote in a great book. The point of this is, life is an education. Everything we do is an education. It is learned mostly through what you learn through your experiences, not by what someone else tells you. If she had told me, when you touch a stove, it's hot, that still wouldn't have helped me. I still would have gone and done it. And because I learned it for myself, I now know that's not what I want to do. So my name's John Papa, and I'm here to talk to you about the most common question I've had in my entire life. John, what framework should I choose? My daughter Madeline is graduating high school, going to university soon, and she wants to be a software developer. God help her. She says to me, Dad, which framework should I choose? Like, honey, I've got a presentation. Let's go. She's like, no, Dad, just tell me. And she's just like the people I meet at conferences and meetups and online and on Twitter, everywhere. They want to know, which one should I choose? Which one do you recommend? So the good news is all the choices we have today are good. That's the good news. This wasn't always the case. We're living in the golden age of JavaScript, friends. A couple of years ago, there was literally a new framework every minute. And then they would disappear. So people are like, hey, did you hear about Batman.js? Anybody here know about Batman? Yeah. Somebody here must have used it. I did. It's crazy. Can.js? Remember that one, anybody? Backbone? Knockout? Let's go. Ember? Ember's still around. It's not that old, right? What about jQuery? That's this thing called jQuery. Do you use that? So the good news is you can't really lose today. But which framework should I choose, Dad? Well, the best options today, I'm going to pick, sorry Chris, React, Angular, and Vue. These are the 3 most common options today. We're going to focus just on these, but the lessons we're going to see here are going to apply to any new ones that come out or existing ones. So which one's better, Dad? Well, what do you look at? How do you pick better? If you're going to see a movie and you walk out of it and you loved it and your friend hated it, you have different qualifications for what makes a good movie. What makes a good framework? Is it the scale? Does it support? Is it the performance? Is it any of these things on screen here? Is it something that's not there? Depending upon how you evaluate, you might have a vastly different answer. So we have to wonder, when you're asked that question, which is a good question, Dad, what's my favorite framework? What's the one I should choose? How do we look at this? So choosing the right framework starts with the right questions. What are the right questions? How do you choose? Well, one of the first places we all look, surveys and polls. I don't want to have to think about this. Let somebody else make the decision for me. Surveys and polls. This is from the state of JavaScript. By the way, I love this question. How many of you think that JavaScript is complex? And you look up here and you see that more than half the people who use JavaScript in the answer to the survey think that it's hard. The next slide is how many of you really enjoy building JavaScript? Everybody. So we all think it's hard, but we really love doing it. That should tell you a little bit about our psyche. All right, so let's get down to 2018, React, Vue, and Angular. The colors are a little off, and I'm a little colorblind, so I'm going to give you a cheat sheet. If you'd like to use it, or you should use it again, or if you'd like to learn it, React, 83%. Vue, 75, Angular, 34. That's how this survey came up in 2018. So clearly, we should all be using React and we've done everything else, right? 2019, what changed? React, 83, Vue, 74, Angular, 30. And because Chris is here, I added this one. Svelte came in at 50%. Ironically, 45% of the people who answered for Svelte haven't used it, but they'd like to learn it. So Chris, you've got a job. So this is interesting because according to this, we really should be looking at React and maybe Vue and everybody else, just let's dump the rest of them and move along. What about Stack Overflow? Stack Overflow, which is the famous copy and paste all my code place. I want to make you feel good first, by the way, since I just depressed half the room with telling you Angular's not good. Let's look at the languages here. What's the most popular languages? JavaScript, HTML, and CSS by far. And we look at those, and then we go to the next slide. What is the most popular tool that you use? jQuery. React and Angular are almost tied up there. Vue actually made the survey this year. It wasn't even on the survey in 2018, which I found fascinating. And strangely, in the middle there, you get things like Spring that popped up. This is a very .NET-centric audience in Stack Overflow. If you've been in Stack Overflow, that's what it was built with, that's where the audience started, that's how it lives. The State of JS survey is built with a lot of front-end people, a lot of them from the React world. So you have to look at the persuasion of where these things are coming from. By the way, you have any idea how many developers out there do JavaScript? Throw out a number. How many JavaScript developers are there in the world? 1 million? 10 million? 10 million is close, but you're still low. Now guess how many, it's up between 10 and 15, numbers I've seen. How many of those people do you think answered the Stack Overflow survey? 20,000. How many of them answered the State of JavaScript survey? 21,000. I'm not sure if they overlap or not, but I'm giving you an idea of how small the survey results are from these pools. Are they representative? I don't know. Both of these surveys do a really good job of trying to be inclusive, but how far can you go? These aren't professional survey analysts, right? So let's look at a professional survey analyst. John Papa knows how to do it all. He says, I'm going to ask everybody the final answer. Which one do you use today? React came up first, so clearly we should just dump the rest of them. By the way, 11,000 people answered this one here because it took 3 seconds. And who didn't answer it? You didn't answer this if you're not on Twitter, you don't like polls, you don't follow me, or you were busy during the 24-hour period that I actually posted this poll. So basically, most of the world did not see this. And half the people probably clicked an answer and just said, oh, that wasn't what I wanted. So what do? The polls are good. I mean, these are good pieces of information. I'm not saying throw them out. The people who do these have good intentions at heart, Stack Overflow and State of JS, but you can't use the polls as the only piece of data to make your decision. If you do, you're really leaving out quite a bit. You really are. But these are good pieces of information. So they have value, log that information, and let's move along and look at other things. If it's not the polls, maybe it's your goals. What are your goals? I hear this one all the time. John, it is so easy to get started with Vue. React, wow, I got up and running with it quick. Angular, no. So, the easy argument, but easy is relative. I teach a lot of classes. I've taught tens of thousands of developers on frameworks and tools around the world. When I go teach Java and .NET-based developers, they grok TypeScript very fast. They appeal to things like Angular really quickly. They learn that like in a day. I've been through that with them. If you go to teach people who do other JavaScript frameworks, or PHP, or Ruby backends, things that don't come from the same places, or Python, it's a different experience. Very different. So easy is relative. Let me prove this to you. We're all going to draw. I love to draw. Everybody in here, by the end of this next slide, is going to know how to draw a Star Wars character. How many of you here have seen The Mandalorian? If you haven't, you must get it. Yes, I used to work for Disney. So first step of drawing The Mandalorian is to first draw a curve. Okay, these two guys are leaving, they can't draw a curve. The rest of you drew the curve, right? Now you just draw the bottom of the helmet. No squiggly line, you're good, right? Next, you color in the helmet. What's wrong? Come on, this is easy. What is the problem? Why aren't you good at this? Why can't you learn Angular? It's easy. Why can't you learn React? What's the problem with Redux and Redux sagas and everything else in the world? It's easy. Easy is relative. If you know how to draw, drawing is easy, right? If you know how to change the oil in your car, it is easy. If it's not, you pay someone. So what does easy mean? Is it easy to learn? Or is that relative? Easy to maintain? Easy because you already know it. That's usually what easy actually really means. There's something that you can relate to in this tool that made it easier for you to learn this than something else. I'd say that's a fair statement for anything you've learned. We suffer from a disease. Everybody in this room is going to die of this disease. It's called the curse of knowledge. Curse of knowledge is the problem that we all have. Have you ever tried to teach something to somebody that you know, and they're just not getting it, and you're frustrated, and you're trying to figure out why? It's not easy. You know my pain, sir. The problem is you have the curse of knowledge. When you know how to do something, you try to teach somebody else. They don't have the same experiences that you had trying to get there. When Roy taught somebody how to do GraphQL, he sits down with them, great presentation, thank you. Going to GraphQL, are you going to learn it at the same speed in 20 minutes of everything he's learned in his years of doing GraphQL? No, of course not, right? So you go through that, you have to think about what was the aha moment for you when you learned these frameworks. How did you finally grok what these things meant? JSX, state, hooks, Redux, any of these concepts, components themselves. Prior to this, MVC, MVVM, MVP, all these different patterns that are out there. You had to have learned something along the way, and it may have taken a compilation of your experiences to get there. And then you expect to come into a room and go, I'm going to learn Svelte in 5 minutes from Chris. Not going to happen. So we have to really try to break that curse of knowledge we're teaching ourselves and teaching other people of how these things work. Empathy is the key to doing this. Understanding why things work the way they do instead of blasting them for doing it the way they do. Oh, I can't stand Angular because they have classes. I don't like React because they put their HTML inside of their JavaScript. And I don't like Vue because it's got 3 letters in its name. Whatever these things are, you look at them, you have empathy for how these things were created. It's not like Evan Yu and Igor Minar and Dan Abramov are out there looking at these different frameworks going, how can I screw over the development universe? They're not. Everybody's out there trying to make life better. They're doing the choices that they think is right. So when you learn these frameworks, you got to look and choose based on how they look at the world. So let's also create some goals. One thing is really important is understand what are your goals in choosing a framework. A lot of times I get asked this question, one of the first things back is I ask, why are you asking the question? I'm like a politician. So Madeline, my daughter, why are you asking which framework you should choose? And then she's like, I don't know, it just seems like you talk about it a lot, so you should ask. But usually it's more like, well, what is your team doing? Are you on a team? What do they know? What are you building? Do they already have apps built in React, Vue, Angular, Svelte, whatever? What are you trying to get out of it? Do you not like what you're building with today? You have to really look at why. Why you're doing this in the first place is really important. If the answer is just because, I ask you to go and search a little harder. Why are we trying to change what we're doing? Why are we trying to pick one of these things? Is it to get a job? Well, then maybe you should look more at the job demand skills that are in your particular area? Is it because you had a problem building a certain app that something wasn't there? Maybe you should look at that problem and see which one solves it best. What about features? This is the biggest lie in this whole talk. There is a feature in one of these frameworks that the others just can't keep up with. It's just not true. I'll list a couple of things here. They've all got components, there's performance, different ways of state management. They all have CLI tools. They all have something like hooks that solves a problem to go get state. Like parent-child communication. What do you have in all these? You want to talk from a parent component to a child. You've got things called props and inputs to pass them down. Oddly, a little bit of trivia, in Angular, guess what inputs were first called in the betas? Props. I have no idea why they changed. And then, on the way out, outputs. In Angular, we have outputs with an event emitter. In Vue, we've got this $emit, because it costs you money to use it. And in React, we have some props. Cross-app communication. What do? This one's very different in the three frameworks. You can use JavaScript modules in all of them. But in Angular, there's something called dependency injection, which comes out of the box, which Java and .NET developers know very well. And it works really well in Angular, so you could use a module, or you could use dependency injection, which is super easy. So slightly different ways to use different features in your app. Which ones have the best CLI? Well, they all have a CLI, and they all have slightly different approaches. React CLI, create React app. How many of you here use that one? Pretty cool, isn't it? Get an app up and running in seconds. It's got the structure. You don't have to worry about my files in the right places. Where's Webpack and all that? It just works. It's great. All three of these have the same philosophy. If you want to generate an app quickly, use the CLI. If you want to build an app successfully, not worry about configuration, use their CLIs. Vue has a little more attention on the aesthetics with their CLI. They even have a UI for their CLI. It just blows people's minds when I tell them that. And I can see it. They're like, wait a minute, I can use a CLI like a terminal and a UI? What kind of? And Angular does a few extra things because there's more stuff in Angular like components and services and whatnot, and you can generate these. But they all work, they're all good. And if you're building with the frameworks, to me the recommendation is use one of the CLIs. What about transpilers? Out of the box, JavaScript, TypeScript, Babel. You can flip these around if you want. You can use TypeScript in all three. Does it really matter at the end of the day? Some of you probably are very passionate about TypeScript. Some of you are probably very passionate about Babel. Some of you are probably like, why would I use either? I'll just use JavaScript. The point is you can use any of these. The thing I like about TypeScript and Babel is it future-proofs you. And with both of those, you can actually compile down to an older version of JavaScript. So I had a big project at Disney once, and a really sharp developer told me, John, I want to try TypeScript, but I'm afraid I'm going to get 3 weeks into this project, have like thousands of files, which first I'm like, hold on. 3 weeks, thousands of files? What do you do? How fast are you coding? He's like, yeah, I'm fast. Okay. And then I get to a point, I'm like, I hate TypeScript. What do I do? How do I abort? And I showed him very quickly in the CLI, I said, you can just tell TypeScript to emit ES5, ES 2015, 16, 17, whatever you want, and then throw in the TypeScript files and you're done. He's like, but does it look good? Like, format it? You go look. He did, and he's like, cool, I like this. So to me, choosing TypeScript or Babel, easy choice, start there. If you don't like them, you can always abort. You're good. Oh, and put this note in, because TypeScript's growing in all these. If you look around at the stats, and I wish they would do this in the surveys, I'm seeing more and more TypeScript in React and Vue than I ever have. And Vue's actually been rewritten in TypeScript. Okay, what about Hello World? You're creating a Hello World app. This is a basic CLI app with one component with one property name. You say, hello, John. That's it. What do you get with React? 133K. What do you get with Angular? 143. Vue, 93. And there are subtle differences between these. If you were an Angular person, you'd say, well, John, Sanders would say, Zones is 37K. What if you throw away Zones? Angular's by far the, well, it's not by far. It's down closer to Vue. But I'd say back, well, then why is Zones in it in the first place? This thing called Zones that's added in. So why do you have that stuff? The runtimes in each are slightly different sizes too, but really doesn't matter. At this point, it doesn't matter. Once you gzip these, nobody's going to notice. Redux. How many of you here love Redux? There are 4 people in this room who love Redux. Cool. So, could you do Redux and React? Absolutely. You could write all this code. He likes to scroll. He likes to write reducers and actions and constants and selectors and dispatchers and state trees and oh my lord. What about views, Vuex, or as my friend Dan Wallin likes to call it, Vue. I think he thinks it's French. So if you use Vue, you get the same kind of thing here. It's a little less code than you do in React, and in fact, the biggest difference between React's Redux and Vue is that you don't have reducers, instead you have mutations. Why are they called mutations? Because in React, it's immutable. In Vue, it's mutable because of the way they have reactivity system. Can you do the same thing with Angular? With Angular, you could write 13 lines of code and do the same thing. There's a library with NGRX where you could actually go through and create this one thing and create it for you. But you're still having to get dispatchers and reducers and actions and all that stuff. And the hardest part isn't even the files, it's just understanding the flow of the data. But the point here is state management. You can do very complex state management in all 3. So what could you use? Today, I'd say arguably most people are moving more towards hooks with React. Oops. One slide. Angular, we're using full lifecycle stuff for a lot of the state management. You'll get an ngConf init, which allows you, it's like a created, where you can go in and get your data, and then you got non-changes, when it changes, different events in the lifecycle. Vue is moving towards something called a composition API. If you haven't seen that yet, it's kind of cool. It's solving this problem. Have you ever written a component and you're getting a list of customers and you're going to save the customers and filter the customers, all that kind of stuff? In your component, you might have code at the top that gets the customers. You might have a property somewhere that holds that customer array. Another property somewhere that chooses the selected customer. Some code in an event that lets you select the customer. And then other code that lets you save and then filter the customer. And that code might be spread out throughout your component, which makes it hard to find. So on the left-hand side in Vue is the way it works today. It's called the Options API. On the right-hand side, it's the Composition API. You can see through the color coding, on the left, you've got the colors spread out across the file. The colors represent different kind of activities in your component. On the right-hand side, you're saying, you know what, if I'm going to get a customer, all that purple stuff is just dealing with customers, let's put it all together. So when you're actually coding it, you can put it in one place. So it's just a new way of thinking about how you go get data. It's kind of interesting. Why did Vue go down this road? Because they saw hooks. Why did hooks get created? Because they created Redux and then had second thoughts. So, why did Angular create life cycles? Because that was the model that was familiar to them. They're all pushing each other for new ideas. And here's just a quick example of how you can do something similar with hooks inside of React. So at the end of the day, what do the different features really mean in these frameworks? When you think about React, everything is a component. That's really the heart of React. There are no services and guards and pipes and all this other stuff that the other frameworks have. It's just everything's a component. So in a way, that's its calling card. In Vue, it's simplicity. Everybody who gets into Vue, they kind of feel like it's just easy to use this stuff. It's very simple, the concepts. In Angular, it's like a full framework. It's a full toolbox. It gives you everything out of the box. Sanders told me earlier, it comes batteries included. I'd say the batteries are like the size of a truck. But they're included. You can do everything. That's what these things are known by. And I love all 3 of them for it. So how do you choose? Polls, surveys? What's easy? The features? Which one's the right answer? I went and took this to people like Sarah Drasner, Chris Fritz of the Vue team, both core team members, Dan Wallin, Igor Minar, some others from the Angular team and community that are out there, Dan Abramov, Brian Holt from the React communities, and I asked them, say, hey, friends, why do you choose the framework that you choose? They all like a specific framework. What is it about it? And do you know what they said? They all said the same exact thing. John, it feels right. This one feels best to me. When I'm coding in React, it feels like I grok what's happening. It feels like Angular is something I'm familiar with when I'm using the components and the services. And dependency injection makes me feel good. Vue feels good because when I teach it, people understand it in 4 seconds. They walk out of the room. They're experts. Everything feels right. It feels good. These are very highly technical people, right? Some of these names you've probably heard about there. They feel right choosing them. I'll bet you all have a feeling about which one you like. Chris likes Svelte because it feels good. So how do you do this? My advice is try each, build an app in each. To save you time, I built one in each. I'm going to show it to you and share you the code. But feel free to go try each of these and build something with each one. It won't take you long. The CLIs get you started quickly. And you can build simple apps, proof of concepts, and get the idea of how it feels to use. These are the apps that I'm going to show you real quick. It's called Tour of Heroes, because I like heroes and villains out there. The heroes are Vikings, because they just came from Oslo. And the villains in the app are my children. So there's the React version, there's the Angular version, there's the Vue version. All three of them look the same, act the same, feel the same. Quickly show you the demo. We don't have time, but I'll show you where the links are to get to this. But I want to sum up with the same quote. Life is an education. It is learned mostly through what you discover on your own, not through what John Papa tells you. I'm not going to be able to tell you what the right answer is for you. Only you can do that, and you really have to figure out what that is. But hopefully, through today, you can see a different idea of how to look at these things and how to evaluate them. And that they're actually, it's really good. We are all blessed to be in such a great age of JavaScript to see 3 amazing frameworks and maybe 4 or 5 other ones coming up down the pipe, as opposed to 100 or 1,000 like we used to have all the time, because they're all supported really well. So if you want to try each, you can grab these links. You can kind of see the quick, easy, short links up there. And I'll put the actual apps up there in GitHub. GitHub has the repo for each one of these, how to get started with them, how to install them, how to run them. They have a fake database backend, so you don't have to worry about setting your database up. And then I also have all 3 of these running on Azure, because I work for Microsoft. And so you can go check them out on Azure. And if you'd like to try it on your own, deploy it there. There's a free trial on each of these where you can try Azure app for free. So what feels best to me? I'm not going to tell you. But I am going to show you the code real quick. So, well, I'll show you the idea. The red is the Angular, the blue is the React, the green is Vue. And if you want to see a Hello World app for all 3, the yellow one there for JavaScript actually has a repo that's linked to for the other ones, which is the Hello World for all 3. So you can kind of see what a Hello World looks like in all 3 of these kinds of apps. And there are the 3 apps running up in the cloud on Azure, and I believe my villainous children are still up there. Nope, those are my friends. I forgot to put your name up there, Chris, because I work with these kind folks. But anyway, you can check out the code, check out these libraries, see what it's like. Definitely try each of them. I really think our community is better when we make our own decisions as opposed to looking for other people to kind of make those choices for you.